Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and we're going to be going through the NBA slate for this evening. I'm going to be going solo today. I'm going to go through game by game, and then we're also going to build some sims and give a preview of what it could look like. And again, the purpose of this is hopefully to teach you guys how to run these things yourself as well, so that you can, when you have 10 minutes to post time, so to speak, you can blast these things pretty quickly. As long as you have the confidence in the projections, it really shouldn't take you all that long. All right, so let's review yesterday, just from the NBA. I was actually able to take down a GPP. I won the 20K Showtime single entry, and typically on Sundays you're going to get a little bit of a softer lobby. Not because the players are weaker, just because most people are really focusing on NFL. So I've had quite a bit of luck or success, whatever you want to say, playing weekend slates in the usual non-weekend sports. So hopefully that's a lesson to you guys. And I didn't do anything particularly different with respect to how I built this stuff. I missed a bit of value that everybody else seemed to have caught up on. This is Z Resacher. I just literally missed him in my projections. But the cool thing is, check this out. So I got first, and all of these guys were kind of like the same. And I had everybody pretty much boxed out the whole the rest of the tournament, so to speak. And yeah, and the reason why is that I had the Jay Hawkins for pretty much the same price at 30 points that everybody else had the Resacher at 27 points. So you see, I beat like all these people by 3 points pretty much. Okay. Let's take a look at first just the overall layout of the slate. It's a really big slate. I always like to to see how it lays out. Now feel free to ask questions. I have a little bit of time, so I can go through the games. I mean, relatively slowly, and we'll be able to run a couple of sims. And if you do have some questions, I have a little more time than I thought I did. But you have a 7 o'clock, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7:30s, and then an 8 and an 8:30. I wonder if this is one of those slates where FanDuel has late games and the NBA and DraftKings doesn't, or maybe it's the same for both. Let's see. Yeah, so FanDuel has these 2 late games: the Portland-Sacramento game and the Lakers-Phoenix game. So that is different, okay? And I imagine there's probably a night slate in DraftKings as well. So we could just get started, and this is obviously early, and just the raw volume of games means that there's probably going to be something happening on the injury front. Okay, I guess maybe just for today, I'll show the projections and how I kind of do this early. So these are my current projections, and it's not going to be that way later. But first game we have Indiana or Orlando. But I have to say that let's just do it the way I do it. First thing I always do before I get to the game by game is just look at the whole slate and see what it looks like. And what I do is I sort everything by point per dollar just to kind of get a sense for what's happening here. And currently right now, I don't have anybody on DraftKings projected over 6x, which means it's a very tight pricing slate. So if you wonder why you might not be able to get Luka or Jokic, or more to the point, if you're wondering why they're not going to be that particularly high owned, that would be why. So like right now, points per dollar, you would see a couple of Denver guys. Well, Jamal Murray kind of stands out. Kyrie Irving, Sochan from San Antonio. Harrison Barnes, also from San Antonio. Wemby from San Antonio. So it's almost the way I look at hockey. You know, I want to see if there's any key teams that are just projecting well. And it looks as though San Antonio with Barnes, Wemby, and Sohan, and Denver with Jokic and Murray. But we'll see. Okay, first one, Indianapolis against Orlando. I mean, I just kind of sort these by point per dollar and see if anybody's even 5x on point per dollar or has a real reasonable Sheets value score. And as far as points per dollar go, I mean, I suppose that Wagner and Turner would be the best plays here, but neither of them look that great. Okay, and Banchero. So Wagner, Banchero, Miles Turner, but as far as points per dollar go, they don't rate that high. But then I like to re-rank them here by the Sheets value score and see if anything pops up a little bit more. So it looks as though Banchero is not bad. So trying to keep pace with who's decent here. Let's put Banchero in here somewhere. We'll put him in 8,800, and we'll see if anybody can get past him. All right, Washington against Atlanta. And as I put this in, I realized that Jonas Valanciunas is still in the league, which is, I don't want to say surprising. I didn't expect it. All right, so what was that? Washington, Atlanta. So again, same thing. I mean, NBA, unfortunately, is very boring. It's a projection-based sport. We just have to see who rates well. So Washington, you have Jordan Poole, who had a really, really big first half the other day and then kind of tailed off. I mean, he could do that. So Poole would be kind of the best guy. He's over 5x. That's reasonable. And then Koulibaly, he had a big game also. So I would say both those guys look just kind of okay. Similar to the Orlando guys, really. And then on Atlanta, Trey, 9,800. I guess that's not terrible either. Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels again. So not great, but not bad. And when you look by Sheets value score, again, let's see if anything pops up. So, okay, so Trae Young kind of moves almost ahead of Banchero. He's certainly the best from this game. And there's Jordan Poole also. That's not bad, again. So I think, again, we have a game here which is not really a priority. But if I had to pick top guys, it would be maybe something like this. These guys. Poole, Koulibaly, then Trae Young, I guess, from Atlanta. All right, Milwaukee, Boston. Porzingis remains out. Let's take a look and see if any of these studs kind of pop up, the either Giannis or Tatum or anybody like that. But again, we start with point per dollar. And Tatum looks like a very strong play. He's one of the top point per dollar plays, and he's going to be a top raw points play as well. So that looks really good. And then I have like a terrible projection on Giannis here. I mean, I wouldn't say terrible, but I mean, it's pretty much only a point more than Tatum, who's 400 points more. So points per dollar, not great. Let's see anybody else from Milwaukee or Boston that's kind of showing up here. I really don't see anything. Derek White, I guess, would be my next guy. But now when you look by Sheets value score, that's when Giannis kind of gets up here. But I think Tatum is definitely the better play. So let's get rid of Giannis just for now, and we'll put Tatum in. Now, as you'll see, I mean, you can't really get to all these guys. So we are going to have to prioritize eventually. But let's just put some guys in. Right, Denver, Toronto, as I mentioned earlier, looks like the best play on the slate. Well, the two best plays at different price ranges. Probably going to be Jokic and Murray. First of all, they're two of the top 3 point per dollar options, even though they have pretty good upside. Let me tell you what this is going to come down to here. I mean, I can already see this. You're going to have Jokic and Murray as one way to do it. You'll have Luka and or Kyrie is another way to do it. And then Sohan is probably going to show up in a lot of lineups. That's going to be my prediction. But yeah, so let's put these guys in. Jokic, obviously very strong. I think actually we could replace Trey with Jamal Murray. It's projecting just way too well. On Toronto, we really didn't see anything, right? I mean, let's do this again. Toronto, I mean, nothing particularly strong. And then once again, Jokic and Jamal Murray. Detroit, Miami looks kind of ugly. I imagine that very few things are going to be playable from here. Take a look. Oh, we don't want to sort by fantasy points. I mean, you look down the list. I mean, I don't find a Detroit guy till all the way down here. So none of this is going to be particularly good. Jovic, even he's only 4.9x. Pretty awful game in general. So I think that we can safely, at least for now, just X this one out. Moving on, Cleveland at Knicks. Let me see. Anybody showing up here? Yeah, okay. So Jalen Brunson looks like a pretty good play, as does Karl Anthony Towns. Now, these guys are going to show up as good plays for most of the season unless somebody gets hurt, one of them, because they just play just a lot of minutes. You have Jalen Brunson with 36 minutes projected, Cat with 35, and these have upside. This has upside for more, just the way Tibbs coaches. So both these guys look really, really good. Cleveland, really, I don't see much of anybody that's really playable here. So let's attempt to prioritize, I guess, already. I guess Brunson has got to be better than Poole. Put him as the guard position. And then it's going to be hard to get all these guys. This is obviously the problem. So you can't get, obviously, both Cat and Jokic. But I think between these two, you're probably going to want to play one of them in your main buy-ins here. And Banchero's already starting to come, down the list here. I mean, we're going to have to start making some sacrifices. If you want to play Jokic, and Murray. And I don't have any problems playing the two of them together, actually, along with Cat and Brunson, which you can do. I mean, like you can play the two Knicks together, the two Denvers together, but then you're 3,700 a man. So NBA, as I mentioned, it's a tight pricing structure today. All right, Chicago against Memphis. All right, Levine at 7,400. That's probably pretty good, actually. That's funny. As I look through this, maybe I sold these Miami guys short just a little bit. Maybe Hero and Bam are okay. But Zach Levine that's not bad. He's always got upside. Who else? Memphis? Nothing really. I mean, we're really just hoping that some news breaks. Otherwise, it's going to be a really tight, difficult pricing slate. Let's put him in for now. This is like a list of guys that we can hope to get as many as possible. All right, Houston, Sacramento, San Antonio. As I mentioned, and I've seen this before. Without even running it, I can tell you what's going to happen. If the pricing stays the way it is, like Sohan is going to be about 100% owned. I mean, it's not really going to be 100, but he's going to show up in probably 100% of optimals. It's just the way it is. They opt for these 5,600 guys. The optimizers opt for these 5,600 guys with extreme prejudice when there's no really, really good $3,300 guys. So, yeah. Sohan's going to look really strong. And then, obviously, I imagine that Wemby is going to look like a decent enough play at 5x and a big upside. So that's another way you can play. You could play Wemby and Sohan. The only thing I would say is just so you know in advance, I mean, Sohan is not like a ceiling guy. In other words, I saw even yesterday, because I actually needed this to happen. It was yesterday or the day before. He or was it yesterday? I forget. But they subbed him in and out, offense, defense down the stretch. I mean, they really don't like his offense much at all. So he's not really a ceiling guy, but he's just a minutes guy. All right, so Houston. There's Van Vliet, but where is Sengun? This is a pretty atrocious projection of 41. I'm not a believer in this one, but assuming this is right now, then all these Houston guys don't look particularly good. Van Vliet, I guess, would be my favorite of them all. And he's over 5x. It's good enough, right? So if you wanted, you play Wemby and then Van Vliet on the other side. So this is the problem. You know, this Sengun could have a tough time with Wemby guarding. I guess that's why he's not projected all that well. All right. And finally, Utah-Dallas. I alluded to this before, but Luka, strong play. Kyrie, strong play. And with respect to Utah, let me see. Not really seeing all too much. Right, before we move on to do some builds, let's do the right thing. Let's take a look at FanDuel, specifically for those last two games. First, we'll take an overall look and see what the difference looks like. And we'll search the FanDuel ones by point per dollar and see anything that stands out. So, okay, so a lot of this in the later games, which is interesting. So DeMar DeRozan looks like the best play on the slate, and he's not from, you know, and he's only available on FanDuel. Oh, this is, I didn't even realize that he was on Sacramento. That's how bad I am. So with Portland, Sacramento, let's just take a look. Yeah, so DeMar DeRozan is a very, very strong play. And really nobody else. Maybe Sabonis, but let's just sort here. Yeah, maybe Sabonis too, and maybe Fox, but DeRozan is extremely strong. And then Lakers, Phoenix. Let's see if anybody stands out here. No, not really. And again, any real difference between FanDuel and DraftKings? DeRozan, obviously, but he's only from the other game. I guess Vooch is a little bit better. Patrick Williams a little bit better. And Nurkic isn't bad. I mentioned that Phoenix game didn't have anybody. That's not exactly true. I mean, he's actually the top point per dollar center on the board. So Nurkic and DeRozan from those late games. And Ayton is not bad also. Okay. All right, so let's run some sims, and I'll go through the process for how to do that, and it includes, you know, how to upload projections and how to do whatever. So if you didn't have external projections, all you'd have to do, again, in DraftKings is change these projections. But before we did that, if you're going to use SaberSim, it's always a good idea to upload your contest, your dummy lineups first. And you see that what I did on DraftKings, I just entered dummy lineups, okay, for the express purpose of being able to upload them to SaberSim so I could work with them a little bit easier. And I did the same thing with FanDuel as well. Now, as you'll see, there's one smaller step that you have to do on FanDuel to get these up here, but let's just go through it. All right, first with, and this could double again as a SaberSim lesson as well. So you start here and you go to contests, and then you put upload entries, and then it'll see download file, and it's amazing. You click this, and what's happening in the background, it's downloading. It downloaded DraftKings or launched DraftKings. It uploaded the entry file from that slate, and it saved it to wherever your downloads go on your computer. And then you can just hit on upload entries file. And then bam. So what it did is it uploaded all my dummy lineups in here, but more to the point, it populated this contest tab with all of the data of the contests I'm entering. And that becomes important when we run the sims, because we have to, you know, we're trying to tailor our lineups to the contest we're playing at as best we can. So it already launches these default settings of what field to compare our lineups to for the purpose of simulating them out. You see all the settings and the distinctions you can make between the contests, which is I mean, it's extremely streamlined. Okay. Before we go back to DraftKings, I'll show you how to do FanDuel. It's one extra step. So we start here, same thing. But then, by the way, if you don't have external projections, you don't have to do anything with FanDuel. You can just use SaberSims or whatever. But to do the contest first, let's hit contest again, same as before. And then hit the upload entries button. And now you have to do one other thing first. First, you have to download it from FanDuel. And then so it'll take you here. And then what you have to do, again, I did dummy lineups. You hit CSV edit under the slate. Then you're going to hit download a CSV, which will then put it in that download file. And then you go back to SaberSim. And then we upload it here. So it's one extra step to get the FanDuel, you know, templates up here. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what projections we use. By the way, for those of you SaberSim, can you tell me why you have this lightning bolt right here, right now? It says you have players that are out in your lineups. You know why that is? Because I did these dummy lineups with all these guys that are out. So, right? Okay. We'll fix that. So you want to use the SaberSim ones, or we use mine? It doesn't really matter. We'll use mine for now. So if you didn't want to upload your player projections, you could just make two changes here. Like you go, you know, maybe down a point, and then you just run these. But if you want to upload your own, you could use the CSV file the way I'm going to show you. But if you do have it through TrueDFS, you can also do it right through TrueDFS. I mean, TrueDFS has SaberSim on it, and my projections will be an option within TrueDFS. Should I do that now? Yeah, why not? Hold on, let's demo that, and hopefully it works. So let's go into TrueDFS, and we won't do it straight from SaberSim. We'll go in here, we'll log in. And then we will, well, I have two-factor authentication, so I have to do this authentication thing. Okay, so then when you're in here and you go to SaberSim and you go with Tools, SaberSim, assuming we didn't do any updates, you go to the NBA, it should be somewhere. Oh, you know what I didn't do yet? Ah, I see. So if you do this off-site, it doesn't remember it, so I'd have to upload it again here. But we can do it again. Here, let's do that again. So let's go into contests, upload entries, download, right? Upload. And now we're within the TrueDFS site, right? But it's still talking to SaberSim, so we have the same stuff. All right, so now we're going to get to build lineups. And then hopefully that you'll see that there are, it says my projections. And within this, with any luck, it'll give you options of whether to use SaberSim's projections, Sheets projections, Goldie's, the average, or add some kind of weighting average. So here we could just go with Sheets, just like that. And it replaced all the projections with the Sheets projections. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so now what we're doing is we are, oh, it still says you have to change, even though, well, that's interesting. That's really interesting that even though I did custom projections, it still won't let me build unless I do whatever. Okay, so first of all, let's see ownership. Ownership, we'll use Sheets as ownership as well. And let's just change a little bit. That's so funny that even though, oops. And then even though you still have to make 2 changes. All right, interesting. All right, so now we're going to build lineups, and we're going to build 5,000 lineups. Using the new Saber sim. What's up, K9? And again, what's so cool about this new Saber sim is that it already saved all the field data that you're going to need. And let's see if I'm right. Let's see if the initial builds get me like 100% Sohan. I'm just guessing. Let's just see. Am I smart? When I say smart, do I know my Saber sim? Let's see. Do I know my projections? Let's see what we get. And no, look at that. Not correct. I would love to be able to scroll, but I can't. How do I scroll across the bottom without, oh, here. So actually, as far as exposure goes, Harrison Barnes got more than Sohan. Now this is, again, this is kind of interesting. So this is the exposure just running the Saber sim, the general, lineup building, what you would call it, metric. So just so you know what we're doing here. So we're sorting it by large slate metric. So if you want to see what that is, you go to Saber score, large slate, and then the eyeball. And if you're so inclined, you can get into the weeds here and see what formula they're using to calculate these lineups. So of note is that 95th percentile outcomes in the lineups matter, and also they are gaining it by minus 0.3 average ownership. So it is creating a pretty aggressive portfolio. So what you can do at this point is one of 2 things. Number one, well, you can move on to the next thing and run the sims, or you can tweak a little bit. Now, there's certain ways you can tweak. One is you can manually just tweak the ownership, right? So if you don't like you're getting 71% of Barnes, you could click here, max exposure, and change it. Like, let's say you only wanted, max 50%. You would put in like 50%, hit apply, and then it automatically gives you all the lineups you need, which is kind of sick. I mean, it really is kind of sick that it can do that. Let's get rid of that. Whatever else you want to do. I mean, it's say 5,000 lineups, and then whatever you want to tweak and hit apply, it'll automatically change that. But another thing you can do is you can mess with this min uniques button. So right now it's coded to only require you to have 1 different player in each lineup. And if you want to be a little more diverse, you'll go more min uniques. But like with everything has a price. Diversification is worthwhile. I mean, it's worth something, but it costs you something, right? Right now you'd be getting the best lineups that you can, but so if you get more diverse, then you're not going to get these same 70. So you have to figure out a way to measure how much you're costing yourself by doing that. So what I like to do, even especially at this point, is you go aggregate metrics, and you'll put average projected score, save and save, and you'll see now you have, of these lineups, you have an average projection of 255.12. And what we use that for is to kind of just test ourselves, meaning each change we make, see how much that's dinging us, so that we can know when to stop. So, like for example, right now it's average 255. So let's say I want to do more min uniques. So let's go min uniques 2. We'll just take a look and see what this does. All right, it didn't really affect the average projection at all, so you should probably do it. here, it didn't affect it at all. So even min uniques 3 is clear. And even min uniques 4, it didn't really go down much at all. Only when it got to min uniques 5 did it dip. So let's go back and we can use min uniques 4 as our diversification metric. So now what we can do if we want, we can just save everything to these contests. And the way that we're doing that is by unique rank, which means that it's going to give you completely unique lineups in all your contests. Okay. So like what that means is, okay, so if we saved it, right now all of them are checked. Okay. And if all of them are checked, and it's unique rank, it's got to have to decide, you know, which way to do this. So what you should probably do is you go into this autofill thing and rank these in some way. Like if let's just say that a lineup is so good that it's going to appear in 5 different, you know, in contests. Here it's going to rank them for you, like how you'd want, you know, where you want your best one. Now again, you could allow for the lineups to be duplicated. In other words, I could have the same lineup in multiple lineups, multiple contests. And there is a certain degree of wisdom to that. Some people play that way. I like to be as diversified as possible, so I don't. So I would go into autofill and I would probably sort by, I would maybe by entry fee or something like that, or probably the mega 8s I would just drag here to the top. And that's why my top lineup would go into here. Now, one thing that we haven't done literally at all, which is what we're going to do next, is run the sims. So what we've done is built really, really good lineups. And look, we have good projections, good ownership. We have a good formula to rank these lineups. That Saber Sim, I went into the weeds with that. We went as diverse as we can to go min uniques 3. So this is a really, really good portfolio of lineups. The only thing is that it's one set of settings. It's one set of rankings that we're applying to all the contests. And all contests are not created equally. What type of lineups you want to put in the fadeaway are not the same that you want to put in the high stakes single entry. So what the Sims have done is attempted to tailor it for you. In other words, it is run, when we run the Sims, it's going to take your 5,000 lineups and just run it against all the contests that you pre-entered, and then tell you what contest does the best against that particular contest, given what Saber Sim thinks, or what you think, if you want to put your own field in, the field is going to play. And that's the development over the last year or two, right? So I do think that you should do this. Now, before we run contest sims, it's important to know what you're going to be getting here, right? So when you run contest sims, it's going to sim your 5,000 lineups against all these contests, against all these different field lineups. Now, if you wanted to get into the weeds and see what these fields are, you can click through here. I'm not doing that. But Saber Sim has created these kind of stock lineups that it feels, based on back testing, represents what the field is going to do. Okay, given entries, given how much is for first, and all that stuff. Now you can replace these with your own fields if you're good enough to figure that out. But for now, I mean, again, I would stick to the Saber Sim field lineups until you can get really, really adept at creating your own. But this is what it's going to be simming against. Okay, so we go back in here and let's run the contest sims. Now let's go to direct fill only because this way we can see the lineups. And if you care, we can look and see what the exposure is before we sim it and what after. So Jamal Murray at the top, then Luka and Harrison Barnes, Sohan. Look, TJ McConnell sneaks in there. So depending on what contest you're in, it depends on what exposure you're going to get, right? So what this is doing is it's sorting everything by sim ROI from high to low. And then the same deal. You go into autofill and then you prioritize which tournament you care the most about. In other words, getting the best lineup in. So I'm going to drop the fadeaway all the way to the bottom, the big lottery. So if there's a tie, that's where it's going to go. And at this point, you could do another couple of things if you want. Okay, so this min uniques thing, you could re-rate these if you want by these new metrics, these mid-destination ROI metrics. So to show you how to do that, let's go back to min uniques 1 just for a minute. And then again, we'll start with 254, let's say 112, and then we'll just go and see where all these things get dinged. Nothing at all. Then it went down to 110, 253, 110, 253, 98. So that is a pretty decent drop. Let's see if we can get away with one more. No, it went down to 26. So once again, min uniques 4, I think, is going to be probably best. And at this point, we're just kind of good to go. You know, we will save to the contests, and then you'll see if we're with any luck, this lightning bolt disappear, and this thing will light up green. And let's just see. There it is. And already saved them. Download the entry. Upload them. And we're good. Now, the key is to be able to do all of that in about 5 minutes, especially when news comes out, you know, because I see like all these, you know, all these Q tags, and, you know, he didn't play yesterday, you know, Bogdanovic didn't play yesterday, maybe, we don't know, right? So much of this whole process is being able to go fast, right? So let's go back to FanDuel, and we'll do the same thing. And once again, we have to upload the entries. Well, I wonder if I could cheat and find that from the other one. Was it this one? Yeah, I think so, right? FanDuel. Yep. So we upload the FanDuel contests, and we'll go to build lineups. And again, we don't even have to make any changes with here because FanDuel doesn't require that. But let's change these to sheets, and then we'll change my ownership ones to sheets as well. And same thing, we will build our lineups, and again, you'll see that we pre-entered all these lineups. And I wonder if I'm going to get all the DeMar DeRozan. Listen, I was wrong about the other thing. I thought I would get all that Sohan, but I didn't. I got all that, you know, mostly Harrison Barnes. All right, so let's just see what we get FanDuel in general. Wow, look at the top own, Patrick Williams, 82%. Interesting. All right, so same thing, right? So let's first go to, you know, let's see, we don't even have to go to min uniques here. Actually, let's do it. Let's do the same thing we did before. Let's average projected score, save attribute. So it's 296. So same thing. Let's go min uniques 2, min uniques 3. I think you should be able to get away with more on FanDuel. 296. Still not even, oh, there, it's down to 294 maybe. Let's see the next big drop. 292, so really not bad. I mean, you can get pretty diverse over here if you wanted to. Yeah, there's the big drop. So min uniques 5, if you didn't want to run the Sims, right, you could probably just stop here and just blast, right? But let's run the Sims against the, you know, the lineups that we, you know, same thing as before. Again, let's double check and see. You know, it's putting different fields for different things, and you could click through these and see if you think that represents what you think the field should do. But I think that's, you know, putting your own presumptions or assumptions over SaberSim as far as that goes is tough. So let's do this. Again, if you're a coder, you could probably code this. You could probably automate this. You have to do make a couple of like the min unique thing is different, but I mean you could automate this if you wanted to. All right. Anyway, okay. Let's go back again. We'll resort this min uniques thing by. We'll use the ROI as well. So 131, 130. 126. Okay, that's a little something, but that's not much. Yeah. Okay. So 110. Let's see. I think I would love to go min uniques 4. Yeah, I don't think I need to go min uniques 5. I think that's asking for trouble. So min uniques 4, and again, same thing. We are going to be using 201 totally unique lineups. So we'll go into autofill. Let's make sure that the monsters at the top, because I don't want to get the 201st lineup if they all would fit. And we should be good. And I mean, if you care, this is what it would look like. Well, it depends on the entry, how much we have. So we save. This should be green. Yep. Download. Up goes FanDuel. And then up we go. I mean, I also would like to direct you guys. I mean, if you do run SaberSim a lot, I mean, SaberSim itself has some really good tips within their Discord. And I would suggest that you watch Office Hours, which is their YouTube channel, where they take questions and they go over a lot of this stuff. In greater detail, and they deal with a lot of the common questions that people come up with. I guess that's going to do it for today. For later today, we're going to try this. We have 4 sports that we're running. We have MLB, NHL, NFL, and NBA tonight. So I'd like to cover all of it between 5:30 and 7, and the order of it is going to be it's going to be interesting. I want to do NBA last because it's going to, it's more sensitive to late news. So what I'm probably going to do is at 5:30, maybe do MLB, then maybe 6, maybe I'll do NFL, and then hockey, and then NBA. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to do all these. I'm just going to do just kind of lineup building. And as I do that, I'm going to be talking about who I like, I guess. But who I like is really just not relevant in DFS. Who I like versus who I'm playing is 2 totally different things. It's all about developing process and developing in a way that you can manage it from a time perspective also. All right. Well, I hope you guys got something out of that. Ken Bronco, I got your DM, your Discord message. I am going to attempt to do a hockey video specifically with respect to the new SaberSim, and any other requests like that. Just feel free to drop them in.